Welcome to Soul Stories, where every tale touches the heart, inspires the mind, and stays with the soul. 8-year-old Aisha sat by the small wooden table that wobbled every time she placed her elbow on it. The evening sun filtered through the torn curtains, casting lines of golden light across the dimly lit room. Outside, children played with laughter echoing through the narrow street. But inside the house, silence lived like a heavy shadow. Her small fingers trembled as she gripped the pencil, erasing and rewriting the same sentence again and again. She was too young to understand many things. Why her father had disappeared forever. Why her mother cried when she thought Aisha was sleeping. Why the landlord banged on the door every week asking for money they didn't have. But she understood one thing clearly. They were going to lose their home. Her mother, Zara, stood near the stove in their tiny kitchen, pretending to cook while wiping her tears with her dupatta. The pot on the stove was nearly empty, just rice and water, but she stirred it as if it were a grand feast, hoping Aisha wouldn't notice. But Aisha noticed everything. She always did. She looked at her mother's tired face, the dark circles, the hopelessness hiding behind her forced smile. Something inside the little girl broke, and with that small heartbreak came a big, brave idea. An idea only a child's pure heart could believe in. Aisha had heard many people talk about Aram Khan, the richest man in the city. A widowed CEO, known for his cold, distant personality, but also known to donate millions in charity every year. In her innocent mind, she believed that someone who gave away so much money might understand their pain. She opened a fresh sheet of paper and began writing again, this time with determination instead of fear. "Sir, we don't want money, we just want a home." She paused. The pencil hovered above the paper. Should she write more? Explain how her mother cried every night, how she feared sleeping on the streets, but she didn't know how to put those big feelings into words. So she wrote simply and truthfully. "Please help my mama. She is very sad." A single tear fell onto the paper, smudging the corner. She quickly wiped her face, folded the letter carefully, and placed it inside a plain envelope. She didn't have a stamp, but she wrote his name with big, shaky letters, Mr. Aram Khan. The next morning, after school, she walked to the tall glass building she had seen only from afar. Her small heart raced as she tiptoed near the charity box outside the gate. She glanced around, made sure no one was watching, and slipped the envelope inside. Little did she know, that small letter would change all their lives forever. The clock in Aram Khan's office struck midnight, its echo bouncing off the cold marble walls. Everyone had already left the building hours ago, but Aram remained seated behind his massive glass desk, drowning himself in files, emails, and reports that IT was his routine now. Bury himself in work until exhaustion forced him to stop. Ever since his wife, Minal, passed away 2 years ago, silence felt louder than any noise. The stillness of his penthouse, the emptiness of his dinner table, the untouched side of the bed, all of it haunted him. So he stayed at work. His office was dim, with only a single table lamp glowing faintly. The soft hum of the city below seeped in through the large windows, but it did nothing to fill the emptiness in his heart. Aram rubbed his temples, leaning back in his chair. The charity team had left a pile of envelopes on his desk earlier, donations and requests that came daily. Normally, he browsed through them mechanically, signing checks without reading too deeply. But tonight, his eyes landed on something unusual, a tiny white envelope, smaller than the rest. It was slightly crumpled, as if held nervously by small hands. Across the front, written in uneven letters, were 2 simple words, "For Aram." Curiosity pulled him forward. He opened the envelope carefully. Inside was a single piece of notebook paper, folded twice. When he unfolded it, the childish handwriting struck him immediately. The first line froze him. "Sir, we don't want money. We just want a home." His breath hitched slightly. He kept reading. Each sentence was simple, innocent, too honest to ignore. That a child had written this, the child desperate enough to reach out to him, a man she had never met, believing he could fix her world. When he read, "Please help my mama. She cries every night." Something deep inside him cracked. He felt a sting in his chest, a feeling he had forgotten existed. Compassion, pain, connection, memories of Minal flashed before him. The way she used to push him to help more families personally, not just through checks. You never know whose life you might change, she used to say. Aram closed his eyes, gripping the letter tightly. For the first time in years, he felt the weight of someone's pain other than his own. That he tried returning to his work, but the child's words echoed endlessly in his mind. At home, her mother cries, "Please help." By 3 a.m., he had given up trying to sleep. He paced around his office, letter still in his hand, heart unsettled and restless. One thing became clear. He had to find the girl who wrote this, and he had to help her. Little did he know, this decision would soon change his own life, too. The morning sun had barely risen when Aisha tied her worn-out shoes, humming softly to distract herself from the heavy silence in the room. Her mother, Zara, packed a simple school lunch, just bread and a small piece of fruit. She tried to smile as she handed it over, but the sadness in her eyes was impossible to hide. They both knew this was their last week in the house. The landlord's warnings still echoed like thunder in Zara's mind. As Zara adjusted her dupatta and prepared to leave for the garment factory, the sound of an engine rumbled down their narrow street. Most cars that passed were old and noisy. This one wasn't. Its deep, smooth hum made both mother and daughter look up. That a glossy black luxury car slowly stopped right in front of their small, fading house. Aisha rushed to the window, standing on her toes to peek outside. Her eyes widened immediately. "Ami, wo kar hamar gar ka samni ruki hai," she whispered. Zara's heart raced. No one wealthy ever came into this neighborhood. No family they knew even owned a motorcycle, let alone a car like this. The back door opened, and a tall man stepped out. He wore a charcoal suit, crisp and perfectly cut, his shoes shining despite the dusty road. His face was serious, almost intimidating, but his eyes held a softness that didn't match the tough exterior. Aisha gasped. She recognized him from the news, from billboards, from every charity event clip shown on TV. Aram Khan, the CEO. Before Zara could say a word, 3 firm knocks echoed through the house. Knock, knock, knock. Zara hesitated. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for the door. She opened it just a few inches, enough to see the man standing there. For a moment, everything froze. Her breath caught. She felt her heart stop. That it really was him. "Miss Zara?" Aram asked gently. Zara swallowed, confused and nervous. "JG." He didn't step inside. Instead, he lifted his hand slowly, revealing a familiar piece of paper. Aisha's letter. "I came to return this," he said softly, his voice carrying more warmth than she expected. "And to grant the wish written inside it." Zara stared at the letter, her lips parting in shock. Her mind tried to understand why a powerful, busy soul would come all the way to their small, broken home. Aisha peeked from behind her mother, her eyes shining with hope and disbelief. Aram looked at the little girl, offering her a gentle smile she had unknowingly brought back into his life. "You asked for a home," he continued, "and I'm here to make sure you never have to worry about that again." Zara's knees weakened. Aisha's heart soared. For the first time in a long time, their world felt like it was changing, right there on their doorstep. True to his word, Aram didn't waste a single day. By the following week, Zara and Aisha were standing in front of a beautiful, fully furnished house located in a peaceful neighborhood, one they had only seen in magazines. The white paint glowed softly in the sunlight, the windows sparkled, and a small garden stretched across the front yard, filled with flowers that danced in the breeze. Aisha ran forward, her laughter ringing through the air as she touched the flowers, the swing in the corner, the wooden porch steps. Everything felt like a dream. Zara stood frozen, unable to move, unable to breathe. Her eyes filled with tears as she whispered, "Yes, Sab, Hamarliya?" Aram nodded gently. "Yes, this is your home now." Zara covered her mouth with her hand as tears spilled down her cheeks. "How can we ever repay you? We don't have anything, nothing at all." Her voice broke, heavy with gratitude and disbelief. Aram shook his head immediately. "You don't owe me anything, Zara. Not money, not favors." His eyes softened as he glanced at Aisha twirling in the yard. "My wife always wanted me to help families who were struggling but too proud to ask. After she passed, I forgot what kindness felt like. I forgot what compassion meant." He paused, his voice slightly trembling. "But Aisha, her letter reminded me of everything Minal used to say." Zara wiped her tears, her heart aching for this man who carried such quiet sorrow. "She must have been a wonderful woman," she said softly. "She was," Aram whispered, a faint smile touching his lips. "And I think she would have loved meeting both of you." Aisha suddenly ran to him and wrapped her small arms around his waist. "Thank you, Uncle Aram," she said, her voice muffled against his suit. "Mama won't cry anymore." The simplicity of her words struck him like a bolt of light. For years, he had lived behind walls of grief, guilt, work, and silence. But this tiny girl's hug broke those walls so easily, so gently. Aram slowly placed a hand on her head, feeling an unfamiliar warmth spread in his chest. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Aram visited often, sometimes bringing groceries, sometimes books for Aisha, sometimes just to sit and share tea with Zara. Their conversations grew deeper, their laughter louder, and the emptiness in Aram's life slowly faded. Aisha would wait for him at the gate after school. Zara began smiling again, the kind of smile that reaches the eyes. And Aram, he began to feel something he thought he had lost forever. A bond formed. Gentle, natural, unforced, not created by blood, but by kindness, trust, and healing. And from that day forward, the three of them slowly, quietly, beautifully built a connection that felt like a new family.